Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2021 World Golf Championships sponsored by Workday. I'm going to be providing you with my top plays. About 20-30 minutes we'll spend going through the analysis. And if you're new, if this is the first time you've checked me out, I appreciate you. Give me some time. I think I can help you maybe get a little bit of an edge. Also, we're going to look to differentiate. We're going to have to do that in these kind of no-cut events. And I also have some updates on the course breakdown. So let's get into it as we speak. Okay. So the only thing really new that I kind of found out, I'm adding a new comp course, but the main thing was that I said these greens are very large complex, and there are some very large greens, but there's also some small greens, and I did find out that the greens are fast. So we're putting on fast Bermuda. That was some information we didn't know, but did find that out. So I've kind of added that into the new models. So that changed maybe just a little bit for my skill set. So I ended up looking so much at avoiding three putts as before. I was thinking all these greens are very large. They are going to be very tricky, but we are going to be looking at fast Bermuda elite putters. But I did kind of add more from the approach side to the elite kind of mid irons to pitching wedge, and I'll describe why. We'll go through the scorecard. And on that note, when I started to break down the scorecard, the average pro hits, a tee shot somewhere around between 280 to 300. Of course, there's the guys that can hit it over 300. But we just kind of roll it out. And what I did start to do was break down each of these holes, understanding that to know, and there could be some differences where they're going to hit maybe a 3-wood or something to lay up to not get a bunker in play. But if you kind of do some overall, what I started to see was these 50 to 100 yardage approaches popping up. And so if you kind of walk through it, right, you got a par 5 that to get there in 2, you got to hit a 300-yard bomb, and then you have to hit, 277. Some of these guys can do that. But, if you take the bulk of the field, I see some more shots that are going to be coming in, like the 600-yard par 5. And again, it's also what the wind's doing. If you're downwind, maybe you can go for it in 2. But I'm going to go with the law of averages stating that there's going to be some more, if you want to call it, wedge game involved than I thought previously. And so I put that in the model. I just wanted to kind of update that. Thought that was something to share. And then also from a comp course side, I am adding Quail Hollow. Quail Hollow, if you look at when they played the PGA Championship there in 2017, it was playing 7,600 yards. But when they played the Wells Fargo there, of course, they didn't get to play there last year due to the COVID shutdown. It typically plays somewhere around 7,400 yards. So I wanted to look at also some of the players that have done well there. Of course, we're looking at Bay Hill, which, Bay Hill, from if you look at from, outside at par 72, very close in yardage, Bermuda greens. But Bay Hill plays a little easier than what I believe this course is going to play. If I had to take a guess, I would say this course is going to fall somewhere in between Bay Hill and Quail Hollow on how they play. The CJ Cup I was interested in looking at too because it was a no-cut event. Pretty similar, except for the green, not Bermuda. And then the players, a little shorter course, but there's a lot of water in play. There's some, crossover. So I'm looking at that too. So that's that. Okay. And if you're new, the first thing I kind of always do is I create a custom model using fantasynational.com. And, the first thing I want to do is just recent form. I just want to look at the guys from a stroke gain analysis over the last 12 rounds. There's no filters, nothing. It's just purely who's doing well from a stroke gain. And no shocker, you got the guys that have been either second place or winning tournaments recently with DJ, Finau, Cantlay, of course Max Homa. You got Daniel Berger that just won. Neiman's been really hot with a couple second place finishes in the past. But it just kind of again, you want to see the guys that are in good recent form just from a swing perspective. The next thing I wanted to look at was to dive a little deeper into Bay Hill, which of course is where they play the Arnold Palmer, as I mentioned. And I wanted to look over just the past 12 rounds they played there. I didn't want to go way back. Again, always trying to keep things, because so many things change literally from almost week to week. So the historical data that we're looking at, I'm trying to keep it as fresh as I can. And then again, against the model that I built, what I weighted, and this got a little adjusted, so I'll go over it. The putter, I am weighting 10%. The approach, I think, is key here, 15%. Driving distance, distance is definitely going to help you here. So you got 10%, but of course, you want to combine that with fairways gained. So I'm weighing that 10%. Of course, greens in regulation. quite a few par fours between 450 and 500. Of course, you got the 4 par fives, 2 reachable and two really not reachable. It's a 3-shot hole. Again, it all depends on where the wind's blowing and who's hitting the ball, but that's kind of how I see it. You got 3 par threes that are over 200 yards. You got 1 around 180. You got birdie or better opportunities gained from, of course, hitting close iron shots, and sand saves is going to be key here. Ton of sand. I was watching. I'll put the link on here. But when they opened this course in 2006, Jack Nicklaus and Tony Jacklin, kind of went and played the course. Jack actually played it from the tips. I think Tony Jacklin played it from the members play. Long story short, you get a really good, better understanding of the course. It was impressive. I mean, this was, 14, 15 years ago, but to see how Jack played the course was pretty impressive. But what I was getting to all that again is you get a little better understanding of, the sand. I guess they actually literally brought in the same sand they use at Murfield Village out of Ohio. And then also that's when the proximity started to change a little bit for me. And so you see those proximities here. And again, proximity is, of course, when you are hitting your second shot, how close can you get from these distances to the pin? And then lastly, par fives. We got a couple of them, as I mentioned, over 600. So I plugged that in just to see, how guys did against that. And then when you do that, you click the rank, it's going to take all these tabulations to say, well, here's, from a modeling perspective, the number one guy that fits. But again, this is, it's historical data. And as right now, Rory is not playing the game he was playing, but you just never know when that switch is going to turn, right? I mean, when he goes out and beats the field by 10 strokes at the Players or something like that. So anyways, we get the names here. And usually, like I said, I'm looking for correlation. I'm looking for guys that pop up quite a few times on these. I didn't go through and highlight all these, but I've already known kind of the ones that keep showing up. Then I also wanted to look at elite Bermuda putters. These are guys, again, past history. And this is purely looking at putting on Bermuda greens and fast. So the 2 filters that are turned on against this model was looking at Bermuda and fast. And then I looked at, of course, weighted it, as you can see. I'm not going to go through all that, but all the different putts, you of course, through 3-putt avoidance, double bogey avoidance, kind of tells a story. And funny enough, Justin Rose popped up number 1. Brennan Todd, great putter, Webb Simpson, Billy Horschel, Max Homa. I'm not going to go through the whole list. You can see. So that was another area that I wanted to look at. And then I already mentioned about, at one time I was kind of looking at more of the guys that hit the longer irons. And then I kind of, wanted to also include more of the guys that hit, really well from the 75 yards to 100 in. They don't have a 50 to 75. They did. I'd probably almost turn that on. But again, this would be just looking at green and rag approach, really just focusing on iron play, of course, par threes, how they do, opportunities gained. So a little different weightings and things that I'm looking at for the iron play. And then from there, you get, John Morikawa, of course, who's elite. And this is looking over past 12 rounds. So, again, trying to keep the information as fresh as possible. And then what I did is I pretty much took the Bermuda with also the approach and wanted to see how guys fared out. And what I mean by that is use the filters for Bermuda, but also all these ones you see highlighted here, all these guys, if you look at their putting splits, Bermuda is their best putting surface. That means they are gaining, it could be anywhere from a quarter of a stroke against the field to a half stroke, some almost up to a stroke. There's no guys on here that worst case might be neutral, but they're all positive on Bermuda. And then I wanted to look against those guys on the approach and see what we came out. And really, to be honest, this is where I think the rubber meets the road. I think this is the 2 key things that we have to look at. It's not the only thing, but it was the main thing I wanted to look at and share with you guys. All right, the other thing I talked about in the breakdown is that we have quite a few European players. You got like the top 2 Asian. You got more of that from the European side. And so just so we're all, aware of how the guys have been doing, because you got Patrick Reed that's been over there playing. Of course, Terrell Hatton's been there a bit, Justin Rose. And so if you look here, I believe this was the Saudi International where DJ won. This would have been a couple weeks ago. You had Tony come in second, but you had Justin Rose also tied for second. Thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, it's a pretty strong field. Terrell Hatton was in that field. I believe Fleetwood. I don't know about Reed. Last I knew, Patrick Reed, the last European tournament he played, which was like a week or 2 ago, he ended up 66. So whatever that tells you, maybe his form is not as great as it was, or but it's hard to kind of go off that. But anyways, we just wanted to take a look at. And so, Justin Rose, I think, is someone that is going to be live here. Of course, Terrell Hatton. I actually made an outright bet on Hatton. I think he's got a really good chance of winning this tournament. Of course, he won the Abu Dhabi. That's when he beat out Rory McIlroy. I believe Fleetwood was up there too, but I don't know. It was really those two that came down. I think Rory actually ended up in third. It was leading the tournament going into Sunday, and then Fleetwood just does what. I'm sorry, Terrell Hatton does what he does. So if you look at it, some recent information at the Saudi International, again, this is this tournament. He had a sixth place. Omega Dubai, I believe that's where Paul Casey won, and Paul Casey is not in the field. Not sure why he took it off, but he did take it off. He had a 22nd. Then, of course, he won the Abu Dhabi, had an 8th at the DP World, and then the Masters, for whatever reason, missed the cut, actually, I think, 71st. Maybe he didn't miss the cut. He had 71st. I don't know how it fell, but did not do well at the Masters. And I'm trying to think if that's the last time he's been on U.S. soil. I'll have to look. And then two other guys that I wanted to bring up that I think are interesting. You got Christian Bezadenhout, who's had a pretty decent. He had a win back in early December. I'm not sure who was in the field, so I don't know how to really rate that. But he had a 14th at the DP World Tour. He had a 12th at the Abu Dhabi. At the Omega, he had a 22nd. It is trailing a little bit in the wrong way. Of course, this was the one again that DJ won. He had a 53rd, but someone that I'm interested in. I also believe he is positive on Bermuda greens. And we have a little more track record. He has played some more U.S. events, so we can look at that. And then you got Robbie McIntyre. He would be. I had to put him against somebody almost like a Will Zalatoris to some degree, where he's young, upcoming, ton of talent, still got a lot to learn about him. But, you could just see he had a 3rd at the Omega Dubai, a 16th at the Abu Dhabi, a 19th at this Dubai Championship. That was back in early December. So, the guy's got some solid recent form. And you can kind of see, he's got a 65 here. He can go low. He just has a couple pop-up, like the 77. That would have stung. But yeah, again, just a couple guys that, if you don't know who they are, someone to think about. Because, again, we're going to have to find some differentiators when we build these lineups, especially for the large GPPs. All right, so with that, let's jump into the analysis. So let's look at Terrell Hatton. These are no specific order, but they probably are, how I am picking. I think it was random. But the first thing is we just look at, a lot of the guys I'm picking, of course, are going to be solid on Bermuda. I think that's key. Of course, we want a lot of this in green. His around the green for the last 5 has been a little concerning, but that's about it. Everything else looks really good. So the last time we saw him was at the RSM. He had a 23rd. As I mentioned, he missed the cut at the Masters. But what is interesting, if we take a look, and the tournaments, as I mentioned, the Arnold Palmer. So at Bay Hill, he actually won in 2020. That was, of course, right before we went to the shutdown. But again, I think that's one of the best comp courses that we have to go off of. We look at the Wells Fargo. I only played there once. He had a 42. That was back in 2008. Again, that's Quail Hollow. We look at the PGA 2017. He missed the cut there. But we had the CJ Cup. That was, again, a no-cut event. About 77 guys in the field, about very similar. Of course, this is at Shadow Creek. It was the first-time event. He had a 3rd there. I think if I remember right, I think he came over. I don't know if he won a tournament previously to that, but he came over and then lit the field up for the first 2 days, and then you could kind of almost see jet lag as he started to fall back. But anyways, that's a lot of the reasons I think his game will fit here well. And then just to see the players, miscut at TP Sawgrass. And I'm not really sure. I have TP Sawgrass on there. I don't know if it's a perfect fit. Again, it's a little shorter course, but, I think there is some similarities, I guess the best way to put it. But I do like Terrell Hatton. Tony Finau, Tony isn't positive on Bermuda as we see him, but right now he's just, the simplest part to put it is he's running so hot that I just think he is due to crack a win. I mean, he has been elite, on all the categories we want. It's just, what will the putter do? Also, I've been also looked at the Tournament of Champions. That was a field of 40 some. I'm all that was what was that Kapalua? Yeah. So also, of course, not exact, but it is a par 73 Bermuda. It is over 7,400 yards. The difference is the greens are very accessible. They also are slow comparative. So it's not a great fit, but it is something also look at it because, it was a 40 man, let's see here, 42 man field. So you get to see how people come out of, again, an elite field. And so it is something also that I'm going to look at. But yeah, I mean, Tony, if we plug in, I don't know, like Arnold Palmer, had a miscut the last one. We look at Wells Fargo, some decent finishes. At the 16th to 28th, again at Quail Hollow. The CJ Cup, he didn't play in the most recent one, but 26, and that doesn't count because that's not even remotely the same. And the Players, the 22nd. So there was nothing from a Cop Course history that was screaming Tony Finau. What is screaming Tony Finau is when you're running this hot, and yeah, it's a California swing. You could put that argument, but that's actually California too. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else that I want to point out. No, like I said, I think the guy's just playing great, and I'm gonna stick with him. DeChambeau, this could be a little differentiator. I don't know. I'm kind of stuck between because most people know that DeChambeau has played this course. He won the 2015 NCAA here. And so he has good history at this course. Of course, it was a while ago. But, I'm kind of in between, people. Last two times they've seen Bryson, right? He struggled at the Masters. He just missed the cut. But, he had a bad Thursday, had a better Friday. I think he shot 4 under on Friday to make a bit of resurgence. I think his game fits here. I think, length is going to be essential. Thinking through where you need to be on which side of the greens. Let's see here. What did he do in TO? So he had a 7th at the Tournament of Champions, which is pretty recent. Arnold Palmer, he had a 4th in 2020. Again, a good course fit. Wells Fargo, didn't play there since 2018, but he had a 4th when he did. Let's see what the PGA 2017. It's a 33rd. Again, that's Quail Hollow. How about the CJ Cup? He didn't play in the CJ Cup. And lastly, the Players. Take a quick look. So 2019, he had a 20th. But again, so yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how he's going to end up. Is he going to be chalky or not? I guess we'll find out. I'll have the ownership projections tomorrow. We'll take a look at those. Xander's almost a bit like Tony. He's just waiting. I mean, you can see a 15th, a 2nd, a 2nd, a 5th, a 17th. Like, he had a great CJ Cup again at Shadow Creek. Like, the guy is just due. And so it's really hard, to get off him. If we look at his background with Arnold Palmer, so he had a 24th in 2020. Wells Fargo, it's a little while ago. Quail Hollow, 72nd at 24th. Let's see, the PGA 2017 we're looking at. He had a miscut, but I mean, again, that's a while ago. And the Players miscut in 2019, but then had a 2nd 2018. So figure that out. And it sounds like a helicopter is flying over my head. That would actually be the Coast Guard. But yeah, so digging Shoffley still. Joaquin Niemann. So I was actually, if you remember last week, I faded Joaquin. Kind of worked out at 43. But the more I sat there and thought about it, really it was just, if I remember correctly, it was the Saturday where the wind blew, and he had just a horrible 9 holes. And I think it just threw his whole game off, threw him off. If you take a look, so Tournament of Champions, I already mentioned, the Plantation course, some fit. But the guy's been running pretty hot. And take a look at his Arnold Palmer was a miscut recent. Wells Fargo a 38. I don't know if he played in the PGA in 2017. Nope. CJ Cup, did I already talk about that? Yeah, he had a 6th place, so I like that a lot. And again, I'm trying to look at the recent stuff. It's so hard you look at historical data, and when you're looking at, of course, the actual course they're going to be playing, it tells you a little more when you are trying to match up comp courses. I guess the short of it is, if I'm going to look at comp course information, the first thing I'm going to look at is the course that they're going to be playing and their history there. I weigh that a lot more than, of course, what the comp course is telling me. But when we have no history, then, of course, we're going to, take a look at these comp courses. So, but I'm just liking Joaquin quite a bit. I think he's going to do real well here, even though his Bermuda splits are just a little below. But if you see, even Poa, he's not solid. Bent would be his best, but it's not like huge. I think it's just one of those things of, if he gets a hot putter, we can look at the U.S. Open here. So that's about the hottest his putter's been. And let's just see, that would have been at Winged Foot. Yeah, so there you go. So bent grass, so hence why. I was just curious if there's any place else that he got super hot with the putter recently. That's a little while ago, but that would be, Bermuda. So the Kapalua Tournament of Champions, was on Bermuda, and he gained over 2 strokes against the field. So anyways, liking him. Rory. This was a head scratcher. Personally, big Rory fan, but that doesn't get you anywhere when you're making picks involving tournaments and betting and outright. But everything I can sit there and figure out is that he's going home, and you got a few of these guys, right? So you got Justin Thomas, you got Rory, you got a lot of these guys that are hometown, maybe not right here, but across the state in Florida. Also, my narrative that I'm going with is, if you think about JT and Rory, both missed a cut, so they got to get out of there early, got to practice on his course a little more. I don't know what their background is with the course. I would maybe guess they played concession before, but so far we haven't heard that. What I highly recommend, and I'll put this in the comments also, is I think it's 10 Golf is when it releases the press, after the practice round press, interviews. And you can glean some things out of those. You can just see what they're saying about the course. Do they like it? Who knows what you might get out of it. But I always look at them. It kind of helps a little bit. If I see something, I'll put it in tomorrow show. But I'll put it in the link so you can find those. And I just recommend sometime tonight, 7, 8 o'clock, usually they release, 3 or 4 of the players that they will interview. They'll interview them on Tuesday and they'll interview them on Wednesday. So you get different guys. So note to self. Okay, back to Rory. So Rory the putter was one thing that was concerning me, but he was off everywhere at the Genesis. But as we all know, you can turn a switch. But we've been waiting for Rory to flick that switch. I mean, if you remember before the shutdown, Rory was on a scream, right? I mean, he was, won the Tour Championship and, won a WGC, top 5s up and down the road. Of course, this top 5 here is at Arnold Palmer. So he's back home in Florida. I'm hoping that does something again. And then you can see the wheels kind of start falling off. Once he comes back, he said it's hard to get motivated. Of course, he had a baby. There's all kinds of reasoning. The hope is that Rory finally says, kind of like what I said, Brooks Koepka, screw this. I'm one of the best players there is. I'm going to go out and focus today, and I'm going to go kick these guys' asses. And that's what I felt like what Brooks did when he won here recently at, now I'm blanking, the Waste Management. But I think it's literally that. I think it's just, I've had enough, and it's time for me to go show these guys what I can do. And I think this is a course that he can definitely excel at. So, that's a lot of, not data analysis, but it is the same thing, pretty much how I picked Brooks to have a, top 5 finish. Or actually, yeah. So neither here or there. We can look at the Arnold Palmer, as I already mentioned. If you pull that up, he's had, amazing background at Bay Hill, where the APIs played. Wells Fargo, amazing, history at Quail Hollow. We look at the PGA in 2017. Again, I know it's a long time ago. He had a 22nd, but again, it's Quail Hollow. That's why I'm looking at it. We look at the CJ Cup. He did play in it. Okay, good. He had a 21st. Again, not when he was in his heyday, but and then the Players, of course, he won there in 2019. I don't know where he was. I actually tried to pull up scoring for the 2020. It's hard to find. But what I know for sure is that Hideki Matsuyama, I think, shot like a 63. He went in Fuego the first day. And then Harris English was second because I had an outright bet on Harris English, someone that I am liking this week too. But, of course, he's had an elite course history at TPC Sawgrass too. Okay, enough about Rory. Brooks, kind of on the thing I just said, didn't have the greatest Genesis. I mean, he made the cut, had a 38th. I always have a hard time, he had a week off, but it's hard when the guy's next tournament, whatever that is, this next weekend, or I'm sorry, if it's, the next weekend, or if it's the next week, I know Brooks went and partied like it was 1999 after that win at Waste Management. After what he's been through, I'm sure they turned it out pretty good. So, not a shocker. You also had the win. I think he was, three or, well, let's go take a look, just for my own knowledge and yours. So let's look at Brooks. Where are you at here? Kepka. Okay. So yeah, there you go. And like a lot of the guys, he had a 68, 70, doing pretty well. And then, the Saturday came, the wind blew, and, just screwed up a whole round. And just, he still made a little bit of a comeback with a 69. But, I think I think this course fits him. He's, gains almost a half a stroke, against the field on Bermuda. That's a little generous. So we'll say, a third of a stroke, but it is definitely his best surface. When that guy is putting, he is on. I just wanted to see the last place. The Houston Open also is not too bad of a comp course. The problem is they did not. They played Memorial Park for the Vivint, so this would be Memorial Park and not the Country Club of Houston, which actually is a pretty good comp course, but this one is not. So, not going to even waste my time with that. Okay, enough on Brooks. I think you got the point. JT, another guy, right? We're taking a flyer a little bit on him, but the guy's elite, and what he does very, very well is he putts on Bermuda well, and he is amazing from like 100 yards in on Bermuda. Again, home course. The guy, I'm sure is not happy about shooting, as far as I know, the worst round he's ever shot in his PGA career. Of course, again, we look at the Tournament of Champions. He had a third place, so that was solid, which I think is a pretty decent comp course. We look at Arnold Palmer. I guess he doesn't play there a lot. He had a 49, but what about Wells Fargo? So Quail Hollow's got some decent history there. PGA in 2017. I didn't even know this wasn't set up, but he won at Quail Hollow back in 2017. I did know that, but I did not remember that. The CJ Cup, the one that we care about really is right here at Shadow Creek, 12. And let's look at the players. So, a third. So some decent history at TPC Sawgrass. But really a lot of this comes down to is his mind right? Is he ready to go out and go do what JT does? Is he over, his grandfather's passing? I don't really think the comment thing is still bothering him, really. I mean, the guy's got so much money, and I'm sure he's like, you know what? Awesome. I don't have to wear, Ralph Lauren RLX every time. I get to go pick whatever until I pick a new sponsor. So I think he's going to come out and prove something. And I'm kind of hoping that he's not that highly owned. Because it's such a small field, I think, ownership's going to be high either way, but hopefully he's a little less. He could be a good play. He might get some differentiation. We'll see on that. Okay, so enough on JT. Let's move on. The next one I'm going to be talking about is Max Homa. And, Max, this is one that I was kind of a coin toss for me, to be honest. Again, I've stated I don't like to play guys that won the weekend before. Who knows? I highly doubt it, but maybe Max will withdraw from the tournament. I don't know if he's also trying to tie one on, but you just don't know where their mind is after something like that. You know what? On that note, let's just go look. I'm just curious. So he won Wells Fargo. Hold on a second here. And then his next tournament was, a couple weeks, and he had a 64th at the PGA. I was just curious what he did in his next tournament. Anyways, what I'm getting to is I was in and out on Max, but right now his game, yes, everybody's, he's on the West Coast, so he's doing amazing. That's where he does well. I just think, period, his game is in a good spot. And I tried to kind of get away from him, but when I pulled up, so if you look at Arnold Palmer, he played there once. He had a 24th. Of course, Wells Fargo, which is Quail Hollow. He had a first place. He won that. It was his other victory beforehand. PGA, not 2017. What about the CJ Cup? Didn't play that one in 2020. And lastly, there was something else. The Players, nope. Then maybe it was TOC. So he had a 25th at Tournament of Champions recently. Like I said, I'll put it that this could go either way. Max could, have a top 25 finish, maybe even a top 5, or he could literally miss the cut. And I wouldn't be shocked either way. So right now he's in my player pool. You'll have to make your decision on that one. DJ, honestly, after watching his last round, I don't know if there's such a thing as you've won too much. But I don't know. It's ridiculous how well he's playing. It just seemed like on Sunday, of course, that was his first, I believe, final round that he shot over, especially when he's in contention. But I thought about trying to get away from DJ again, and I'm just like, it's almost impossible. So we just pull up, and this is just looking at his WGC record. Now, the only reason why we're looking at this is because it is the same kind of field and format. It has nothing to do with the course history. But I mean, the guy, of course, he won in 2019 at WGC Mexico, won it again. Of course, they're not playing Chapultepec. He won at the Bridgestone. He won it, 2015. He won it in 2000. I mean, the guy owns the WGC. It's really hard to try to fade a guy that is in ridiculous form and just owns the WGC. If I look at the other comp courses I've been looking at, I don't think there was nothing there that stood out. I mean, Quail Hollow back in 2017, he had a second place. At the PGA 2017, he had a 13th place. Again, Quail Hollow. The CJ Cup, I guess he did not play in it. And then the Players, he had a 5th in 2019. So, again, if you want to try to differentiate, I'm guessing that, people are not going to be getting off DJ anytime soon. You might want to try, figure out some. I actually looked at Rahm. I'm just, even though Rahm had an amazing Sunday, and that could be something, but he's not great on Bermuda. He's a great player, but I'm so terrified of what that putter's been doing. Now, maybe something got fixed. Maybe he figures something out or to get some confidence back. But when you got to sit there and differentiate between the Rorys and the Xanders and, JTs and all that, you got to, somebody can't be picked. And right now it's still Rahm for me. All right, Mark Leishman, little different, but Mark is a good Bermuda putter. He's shown some decent recent form. He had a 24th at the Tournament of Champions, which again, 40-man field. If we look at the Arnold Palmer back in 2020, which is funny, I think it was his best finish in 2020, and that's when his game kind of went on the downhill. But he's done really well at Bay Hill. He's at a 3rd. I mean, that's way back, but, he won it in 2017, runner-up in 2020. If we look at Wells Fargo, he only played there once, so I'm not even going to worry about that. What did he do at the PGA in 2017? He had a 13th at Quail Hollow at the PGA Championship, again, playing longer. The guy's, when he's on, he's elite with his irons and a great putter. It's, typically the driver that can kind of bite him. The CJ Cup, he ended almost dead last. That was when the downward spiral started, but that was at Shadow Creek. And the Players, not, I guess when it comes down to the Players upcoming, I don't know if we'll be looking at Leishman. But anyways, I kind of like him here. I think he could be, I don't want to say sneaky, but I think he could be a little differentiator, and I think he could do well here. Sungjae Im, we haven't seen him for a couple weeks. I don't know if that'll mean anything, but, he gains almost a half stroke putting on Bermuda. That's the one area typically that Sungjae, needs help. He's had a nice run here, gaining at the Amex, I believe. I just want to see. I got to remember that off the top of my head. Bermuda at the stadium course. So there you go. Gain ridiculous strokes there. Let's just pull up WGC. So he's played three WGCs. His best was an 11th. Just was curious about that. Not really holding that a lot. The Arnold Palmer, this was one of the reasons. He's had a 3rd place. So note to self, for the API upcoming, he likes Bay Hill. Does well there. Wells Fargo, he's only played her once at a 31st. PGA 2017, did not play in that. CJ Cup recently, he had a 45th. And then the Players miscut. But I like Sungjae Im here. I think I think he's going to probably maybe take a round because he's had a couple weeks off. I'm guessing, again, it was total speculation, but I'm thinking he was moving into his new house because that guy never misses a tournament, so it had to be something. Christian Bezadenhout. So here's one that, again, maybe you know, maybe you don't. But the guy, as you see, loves Bermuda. Gains almost over a stroke putting against the field when he does putt on Bermuda. As you can see, off the tee is a little suspicious, but approach around the green and putting is where he makes up for it. I just already have this up. The 3 WGC events he's ever played in, you go, I would just say around top 20s, which that's pretty impressive. We look at Arnold Palmer. Played there once. He had an 18th. And like I said, I don't know how much we're going to have on him. That's why I kind of showed the European stuff. I don't think he played in the CJ Cup, and I don't know if he's ever played in the Players. No. But I think the Zaynhout could be someone. I don't know what he's priced at. I would guess somewhere around 7,000. He's someone that is definitely going to be in my player pool. And then Justin Rose. This is a tricky one. Again, this is with the WGC's his history. Take that for what it's worth. He's done well. Of course, it's depending on what his game was like at the time. If we pull up, did he play in? Yeah, so Tournament of Champions. Oh, wait a minute. That was way long ago. He didn't play in the recent TOC. That makes sense because he wasn't playing that well, so he wasn't in it. Let's see what he's done at Arnold Palmer. So he's had a third in 2018, a second in 2013. So you can get around Bay Hill. Wells Fargo, Quail Hollow, a fifth, a third. Again, it's a little bit back there, but PGA 2017, miscut. CJ Cup, he did play it at 52nd, so that's not good. That's also he was struggling in the Players. So, as you probably know, right, he switched to the Hanamas, and then he actually shot, I think, he actually played a couple tournaments with him and did okay, and then it just went sideways. And so I don't know if he just lost confidence, but of course went back to his old clubs. I don't know if that's TaylorMade or whatever. And then we kind of just seen ups and downs, right? So the last time we saw him, he miscut at the RSM, which is a smaller track. Had 23rd at the Masters, tough track to navigate, long, a little bit of a kind of a comp course to here, you could say. 17th at the Zozo, struggled at the CJ Cup, had a 9th at the PGA Championship. So why I am going with him is when he is playing well, he is elite tee to green, great Bermuda putter, and he just had that second place finish. So I'm hoping that his form is decent coming in. I think he's like 7,800 or something like that. I don't have the pricing right in front of me, but he could be someone, again, to gain some leverage. And my last guy I want to talk about is Harris English. I think here's a leverage spot for us. Again, a great Bermuda putter, gains almost a half stroke when he's on Bermuda. The guy's been, just been playing solid golf, but he has 2 recent miscuts. Now, this is just looking at his WGC, his history, and, all pretty solid. But, these are the 2 I'm talking about. And if you watched him a bit at both of them, you were kind of like, holy cow, he looks lost. But, of course, going into this, so in a field of 40-plus at the Tournament of Champions at the Plantation course, he won that against a crazy strong field. And then started to kind of lose it a little bit. So we just don't know, again, it's a flick of a switch. Mentally, he could go there. Everything to his eye sets up for him. You got to be able to hit the fade and the draw here. Nicklaus, this is not, typically everybody says, oh, it's Jack Nicklaus design. You need to be able to hit the fade. That is not the case at this course. He kind of made it equal where he has some dogleg lefts, some dogleg rights. Harris can control the ball off the tee. Great with the irons. Just kind of a steady player. A little bit almost like a Patrick Catley when it comes to the fact of you don't see his emotions swing one way or the other. Sometimes it could come off as he doesn't really give a crap, that he doesn't have the passion. But I don't think that's the case. Of course, you don't, win and succeed like he has recently. Also in that CJ Cup, he had a 10th, again, against a really strong field. That's at Shadow Creek. Arnold Palmer in 2020, he had a 9th place finish. We pull up Wells Fargo. That goes back a little bit, but he's at a 17th at Quail Hollow, 54 recently. What about the Players? Ooh, he does not like TPC Sawgrass. Again, that's back in 2019. So note to self, as I mentioned, in 2020, he only had to play 1 round, but he was in 2nd place after round 1. That's all I'm going to say. Doesn't mean anything, but it does mean he can play TPC Sawgrass at least 18 holes. Okay, I think that's enough. Let's jump over and just kind of summarize these guys I was just talking about. All right, so here we go. So who do I think is going to end up in the top 5? Again, this is top 5, not top 10. These are the guys I think are going to end up in the top 5. I'm going with Terrell Hatton. I got an outright bet on him. Actually, a decent sized bet. I think he was 22 to 1 was the odds. So, I don't know what they are right now, but I think that's good odds for him. You got Tony Finau, just he's due. In worst case, Tony produces points. I mean, the good news about Tony and even Scotty Scheffler, I was back and forth on Scheffler, not for a top 5, but to be in my 15 players. Just not enough there. But again, what's been going on with Tony or Scotty Scheffler is if you were playing Showdown, put that guy in on Thursday and play him on Sunday. That guy, for some odd reason right now, is on a kick-ass on Thursday, kick-ass on Sunday. The Friday, Saturday, the mid-rounds, for some reason, been a little struggle. So just a side note. I got DeChambeau. I think he could actually be a top 5. Xander, almost like the Tony Finau. He's just due. And Joaquin Niemann. A little bit of a flyer on Joaquin, but everything I'm seeing from Joaquin, his game is optimal. I think he just had one bad 9 holes at the Genesis. All right, top 10. We got Rory, who I'm hoping like heck is going to just say enough's enough. Play his game. You got Brooks, who I think is going to play well here. JT, same thing. If he's mentally right, look for him to have a top 10. Max Homa is a little bit of a shot, but his game's in great form. He plays very well at these courses. It's just, where's his head at going into this? Has he had enough time to practice? Has he done, to do his prep work as all the other guys have? The hope is yes. And then DJ, I think he's going to want to make a bounce back. I don't think he likes what happened on that Sunday. And we know his game's elite right now. He's got, the distance, everything to put together. So the only one thing you can say about DJ right now that is maybe a little worried, and I mentioned this before the Genesis, was he won the Saudi International. He shot 13 under, and he came out and said it was almost his worst putting performance. And I think he was meaning for Sunday, is still won a tournament. So hopefully, and you saw a little bit of that on Sunday at the Genesis, really struggled with the putter. So, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully on Bermuda, he will be fine. And then for the round it out, I like the Leishman, good on Bermuda. I think Sun James got to kick a little rust off, but he'll end up, when all said and done, in the top 20. The Zadenhout, going with him, man. I think this guy, I'd roster him. I think he's going to be a differentiator. JR, and we got Englishman who's missed the last 2 cuts. Again, another guy that could differentiate. So that's it. I appreciate you spending the time. If you are new again, if you liked what you saw, please like it. Share it with anybody you know. If you have not subscribed, again, I plead with you to subscribe. It just keeps me kind of doing this for free, not charging, no commercials, none of that. It just keeps telling me that people are subscribing because they do see value in it, and that's awesome. Again, if you have any questions that you want to pick my brain on one and done bets, your GPP lineups, whatever it is, hit me up at DFS Golf Guru, or just leave me a comment in below, and I'll get back to you either way. All the best of luck to us. I will have my fades tomorrow, ownership projections. If I'll check the weather. I don't see anything that I remember, but we'll check the weather. We'll check those interviews. So anything I find out between now and then, just check me out. The show's a little shorter, and we'll talk to you guys then. All the best to us. Take care.